Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul, On Demand, Season 3, Episode 9 with Dierks Bentley. Now there's a Petty Country album coming out. Everybody from Dolly Parton to Chris Stapleton to you recorded songs for the album that celebrates the life and music of Tom Petty. Have you heard any of the other songs other than the one that we've all heard that you did, American Girl?
No, I haven't heard anybody else's stuff yet, but, they must not have done a very good job. They're letting us have the single. No, I imagine it's pretty good, but I will say what's cool about sorry, Chris, sorry, George Strait. I will say what's cool about our version is it's very, and I need to hear their versions, but ours, we were able to make it me,
And if you're a fan of Dierks Bentley, you know that he'll roll you through some Dierks shenanigans, so it's going to be a lot of fun in this interview. If you want to roll back and listen to some of our past interviews, we just had on John Langston, who was Luke Bryan's protege, the Bellamy brothers. Toby Keith was on. You could go back far. Kenny Chesney's in there. Just search for Taste of Country Nights On Demand, wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Town Square Media Podcast Network. Let's get into this Dierks Bentley interview. There we go. What's happening, Dierks?
Taste of Hot Country Nights.
What's up, brother?
How you been?
Man, I've been good, man. How you doing?
I'm really good. Just kind of gearing things back up. Just been enjoying the kind of the off time and working on some music, but really just doing more dad stuff. My girls are doing a lot of theater, and my son's doing a lot of travel hockey, and just been doing all that stuff. But yeah, kind of getting things going again. It's gonna be fun year.
All right, with this Petty Country coming out, do you have any first memories of hearing a Petty song on the radio?
I have. I'm old enough where MTV was a real thing, and when "Don't Come Around Here No More" came out on MTV, I mean that video, that trippy Alice in Wonderland, the cake, and the big giant mushrooms everywhere. I mean, that had such a big impact on me. It was just like, who is this guy? This is like so far out there, and the music's so good, and the singing's so good and weird, and so that's really my first exposure to him. That really, I listened to it. My sister is 3 years older than me. She was a Tom Petty fan. But that was the first time it really hit me like, wow. And then, I really got into country music, and I eventually really got into bluegrass music when I moved to Nashville. And my second real big exposure with Tom Petty was the Del McCoury Band. They put it on an album in 1996 called The Cold Hard Facts, and they did a cover of Long, Long Road. And it's this crazy up-tempo version of it, killer mandolin solo, and I love that band so much, and that the fact they cut that song really made me go back and dig into Tom Petty's stuff, because that was my favorite band. I'm like, well, if my favorite band's cutting Tom Petty songs, I need to go back and listen to them. So that's really when I started listening to him again and just hearing him with a little bit different ear. And of course, working on this particular project really made me listen to it all over again too. I mean, this song, American Girl, I've listened to it so many times, trying to working on the record, trying to find my own version of this song with the bluegrass and the banjo, but also make it feel rock and country, and trying to sing it right. I really listened to it so many times, and I'm convinced that the second verse of this song is some of the best singing in the history of any rock country band, because his voice is just, there's so much angst, and it's just, his voice kind of has that brokenness to it to begin with. So it's just the emotion behind his voice, it's just unparalleled. So I had my hands full trying to cover the song, but I like the way it turned out, and I couldn't be more proud to be on this project.
Did you ever get to meet Tom Petty?
I never got a chance to meet him. No, never did. Always a fan. I love the fact that Tom was a country fan. Obviously his tastes skewed a little bit more towards the traditional country music, which at times I've been part of that movement. And I've also been part of the more commercial stuff that he probably didn't like as much. But, he really, his music is so, I mean, the storytelling and I think it's fits right in the country frame pretty well, country landscape pretty well.
A couple of years ago, before he passed away, he was really critical about modern country.
Yes.
Stapleton and Church, they replied when someone like that is so influential and they speak out, does it resonate more within the country community?
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, I really respect his opinion on that. But at the same time, down the road, I won't be making too many comments. I would hope about what the kids are doing, because everyone's trying to carve out their own sound. It's like everyone came here to Nashville and they people we think are traditional now. Buck Owens, Buck Owens was skewered for being pop. Buck Owens took out a full-page ad in the Billboard magazine saying, "I will always stay country. I'm a country artist," because his songs are on pop radio. We listen to that now, or we listen to Johnny Cash now and go, "Oh, he's a traditional country artist." There's nothing traditional about those guys at all when they first came out, and haggard and using trumpets on their songs. I mean, so you got a little time go by to see what is and what isn't. But I respect the fact that there's people out there and folks that are trying to carry the torch and protect the music. At the same time, I'm also I give a lot of thought to these young kids coming to town, trying to make it, and they're trying to come up with sounds a little bit different. And so I don't know. I kind of see it both ways.
Do you did you get to pick your song on which one you were going to record?
Yeah, I did. I knew this project. Dolly Parton's on it, Chris Stapleton's on it, George Strait's on it. I was kind of surprised this song hadn't been chosen. It's one you hear downtown Lower Broadway all the time. One I'd covered before. It's just Tom has like that critical appeal, but he also has a lot of commercial appeal. And this is one of those songs I feel like is in both lanes. It has the critical critics love it, but also you could hear it at Whiskey Row down Lower Broadway on a Saturday night because fans love singing along to it. So I was lucky to get it. I love the way the cut turned out, and I'm so excited to have it in my live show. It's like instant, huge hit. It's not just a cover song anymore for me now. It's like, hey, this is the song that he covered off the Tom Petty, Petty Country album. So it gives us more of a reason to play it in our live show.
Do you think when you do play it live, you'll be more nervous, or is it more like euphoric that you're like, hey, I get to play this?
I played it already. It's so great kicking it off because everyone loves the song, and it's fun for me because it's right at the top end of my vocal range. That second verse, still so far out of reach. I mean, that's like it is out of reach for me. So going for those notes, trying to get them. And then just the band loves the song because it's a huge jam at the end and has so much great instrumentation. So it's fun for everybody. It's just a great song for us and obviously for people singing along with the crowd.
Have you gotten to hear the other songs on the album?
No, I haven't heard anybody else's stuff yet, but they must not have done a very good job. They're letting us have the single. No, I imagine it's pretty good, but I will say what's cool about sorry, Chris. Sorry, George Strait. I will say what's cool about our version is it's very, and I need to hear their versions, but ours, we were able to make it me, it's got we mixed the bluegrass with the kick-ass, and it sounds like me. And I think it's a song that it's got great tempo. It's one that, you want to drive around your car, you're going to want to crank this up. So I think they picked a good song for radio.
Well, and a lot of people, when you put out The Mountain, a lot of people were talking about how you were channeling your inner Tom Petty. Was that accurate or intentional in any way?
Now, there's some Tom influence on there, maybe a little Neil Young as well. It was, just that roots country Americana stuff. I love that stuff, so I think they kind of both fit in there and do with kind of a rock sensibility. And so, yeah, there's a little bit, I don't think there's any discussion in the studio like, hey, let's do Tom Petty here. I'm sure there was probably a part where someone's like, hey, play that like like you would hear on a Petty track. So, but I've been influenced by so many different bands and types of music, and certainly these guys are Tom and his the Heartbreakers. What a great band and great songs, and I think this project's a nice way to pay tribute to them and maybe turn some fans on to country to Tom that hadn't been turned on to Tom Petty before. I know when there's a big country collaboration 20 years ago probably where country did a whole thing on the Eagles, and Travis Tritt's version of Take It Easy was like, God, that was such a huge song for me. So hopefully this is in line with that.
The Grammys happened recently. Taylor Swift set a record for winning the most Grammys in a row. Give me a Taylor Swift Dierks Bentley story that's not out there.
Oh man, I've known Taylor a long time. I think I met her when she was 12 or 13 and just moved to town. And here's a funny story. I just finished a tour. And I was at my house on Sunday night, just off the road, exhausted. This is probably 2016 or 17, and we wanted to go see Taylor Swift because I have 2 young daughters and I love Taylor too. And she's coming to Nashville. And we thought, well, Nashville's going to be so crowded. Let's go see her somewhere else. And I looked up and saw in 2 nights she was playing in Kansas City. Or maybe it was the next night. I'm like, wow, she's playing in Kansas City tomorrow night. Maybe we should go there. And my wife's like, maybe, we're so tired. But I was like, well, let me just check in with her manager. So I texted Tree. And 2 minutes later, I get a text back from Tree, her manager, saying, yeah, Taylor wants you to come and she wants to sing a song with you. So I look at my wife and I go, well, looks like we're going to Kansas City. She's like, well, I'm not even sure if I want to go. I'm so tired. I'm like, oh, we're going now. Taylor wants us. I'm singing with Taylor. So long story short, here I am on stage with Taylor for the sound check. And Taylor was the one that broke, and she was the first one to do those bracelets that light up. Uh-huh. And she goes, hey, on Every Mile of Memory, your song, what color do you want the bracelets to be for your song out there? And I go, I think I want red. And she kind of looks at me like, Return of the Jedi, when they go, these aren't the droids you're looking for. She looks at me and she goes, I think you want white. And I go, you're right. I do want white. And she goes, white will pop. I go, yes. She's so in control in a good way. And it's so thought out. And she wanted me to have my best, moment up there. And the white light really pops. And I don't know. My kids this time around are like, hey, Dad, are you performing with Taylor on the Eras tour? I'm like, y'all. That was a long time ago. She's moved on. But she's always been so nice to me and my family. So we love Taylor at my house.
I spoke with Garth Brooks not too long ago, and he was telling me a story about when he first got signed, they wanted to change his name because they were like, what the hell is a Garth?
Yeah.
Did you ever get any pressure about that with Dierks?
God, I wish I had. I would have changed it to something cool like Buck Bentley, or something better. I can't believe they let me, out of the door with Dierks. What a weird name, but they did, and no, I never had any same record label as Garth, but maybe under different management. I had Mike Dungan, and nope, never worried about it. I can't believe it.
Give me a really funny story that you can recall of being recognized in public. Like, were you ever somewhere where you're like, I don't want anyone to know it's me, and then boom.
Oh my gosh. The last, I was at my son's hockey tournament down in, where were we? I think we were in Tampa, and some guy walks up to me and goes, hey, I know who you are. I'm like, Leonardo DiCaprio? Who do you think I am? And he's like, no, you're that country singer. I'm like, yeah, I am. And he goes, you're Chase Rice. I go, that's right, I am Chase Rice. So I'm trying to look this up on my phone. I took a picture of this guy. It's not pulling up. I took a picture of this guy and I sent it to Chase Rice going, this guy thinks I'm you. And he was so excited because I can't find it right now. But he was like, I get mistaken for you all the time. And now you're finally getting mistaken for me. So it's actually not just one guy. Everyone behind the bar thought I was Chase Rice. So I took pictures, signed stuff, and then got the hell out of there. But that's one of my most recent mistaken identity cases.
Congrats to you and your wife just celebrated your 18 years married. Do you guys still get each other gifts?
Guys, it's been that long. It's really felt more like 50. No kidding. That little. No, it's been a great 18 years, and not really, a gift for us is just like the gift of time. If we can, a morning to go on a walk or a hike or go do something together, that's about that's about all we need. That's all you can ask for when you got this much going on. But I feel very, very lucky to be married to her, and it's been a wonderful 18 years.
What's your wife's favorite Dierks Bentley song and her least favorite Dierks Bentley song?
Favorite song of mine? Gosh. She loves I Hold On. I wrote a song about her called Black. She loves the song Black. She loves, let's see, How I'm Going Out is kind of like the tracks towards the back of the record she tends to kind of go for too. Still off the new record. Least favorite song, man, she can be a harsh critic. I can come in with the song I just wrote and play it for her, and she doesn't not mince words. She'll just be like, nah, I don't really like that. It's like, dagger to the heart. You're hoping for at least that's pretty good. But she's definitely, and she's not overly like involved in any of that stuff. But she'll just tell you how she feels, and which I appreciate. I need that for sure.
Okay, 2 more here. Last fall we saw you teaching your daughter how to drive. Can we get an update on that?
Oh man, it's still just as scary. would like someone to go on Shark Tank and invent some sort of like temporary brake you can establish on the right side of the car, maybe even a steering wheel, or like like those old airplanes with a yoke. You could throw it over and you can control it on both sides. Because there's sometimes it's not bad. Then all of a sudden you find yourself in a road. You're like. You find yourself on a road that you never thought was dangerous before, but now that you're sitting in the passenger side and she's missing every mailbox by like that much, you're like, and there's ditches you'd never seen before on the sides of the road, so it's still just as scary. I got about 6 more months before she has her license, so we got to keep working on it. But that is a major rite of passage when your daughter or son starts driving you around.
And finally, in 2024, man, what are you up to?
Big tour. We got the Tom Petty track coming out. I'm working on new music. I'm going out with Chase Rice. We got great openers like Randy Rogers Band and Stephen Wilson Jr. and Zach Top and Lee Bryce. I mean, pretty sick lineup out there. So just excited for that and just being around, helping out at home and doing the dad stuff. So it's going to be a good year.
I feel like you and Chase Rice should flip-flop and not tell people.
I'm thinking the same thing. I think I can go on the middle slot, be getting my bed around 9:30, put a movie on, and he can close the show. I'll do his songs. He does my songs, but I still keep the headliner pay. We're going to swap everything except money. But that's true. I always George Jones and Buck Owens used to fight over who could have the middle slot because they both wanted to be back on their bus watching Andy Griffith's show. So they would like literally fight. No, I go first. No, I go first. Now everybody wants to headline. I'm like, why do you want to headline? Let's get a little 8 to 9 and call it good. But it'll be fun having them out there. We can have some fun with the crowd.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate the time, man, and we love with the song. Good job, man.
Thanks, Evan. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, brother. Well, you take it easy.
Good seeing you. If even over Zoom, good seeing you.
Yes, sir. We'll see you later.
See ya.
All right, let's bring in Billy Dukes from behind the camera to go over this latest interview with Dierks Bentley. What's going on, Billy?
I thought the heart of this interview was the Tom Petty's thoughts on country music, because that was something I think a lot of people are going to go right to when they hear about this tribute album. It's like, wait a second, Tom Petty, he was critical of modern country music. What's up with that?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was kind of scared to ask that. Honestly, I didn't know how. I didn't really want to put Dierks in that position, I guess, because I know that he's is a good guy, and I didn't know how he would talk about it, but he handled it so good. I feel like I didn't know too much about what Tom Petty had said about country until I looked more into it for this interview, and I feel like he nailed it, Dierks Bentley, the way he said it. Although, do you think Tom Petty would appreciate this as much as country fans do?
Well, we've been privy to the full track list, which hasn't been released publicly yet. And seeing that track list, I would say yes. But had it included, had it been heavy on like super new artists, then maybe not.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think he had his criticisms of country music, but while it's out there that Dolly Parton and George Strait are a part of it, and I do think he would have been very pleased with that because they're both legends in their own right. But, I don't know. It might be kind of a prickly situation for him. But Dierks, do you think Dierks knew the question was coming, or do you think he was just kind of able to give that off the top of his head?
I think he was able to give that off the top of his head because I don't know that I'm not sure if other people would. I don't know. I don't know if anyone would ask that. It's kind of like it's kind of a downer. Here's an album about a guy that just passed away. Redoing all of his songs. By the way, he did say something really bad about the genre in general that's re-recording this album. Let's talk about it. And I think that Dierks handled it well, and I think that's the honest to God truth. I think that Dierks is good at also joking away things by saying that, the other people's must not have been that good because theirs weren't the single. Mine was the single. So I think that there's a lot of different elements to Dierks Bentley in that question.
Well, I'm right in line with Dirk on his sort of ideology about how to handle, like if you have criticisms with today's country, like you kind of have to wait a little bit to see how it plays out, because all the, like those legends he speaks of, and even more, I mean, they were skewered for being pop artists, and then later became country legends. I mean, Kenny Rogers is one of them. Johnny Cash is who he mentions. You know, I mean, artists like that. It's just an interesting thing, and I don't know that you gain anything by criticizing a genre like that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm not going to say anything. I don't know.
What are your thoughts on country music as a whole, Evan? Go ahead.
What are my thoughts on country music? What is it? No one cares. I'm not going to say that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we kept it positive, and he did as well. All right, so that's coming. It does feel like he has kind of a bigger year in store, though. I mean, the Gravel and Gold tour is also sort of coming this year. That's based off of his album from 2023. What else did you want to know from Dierks that you got a chance to ask him?
I was really curious about the whole Taylor Swift thing. I'm glad that he gave us that story, because I know that he was, pushing for her ever since she first got into the business. So I thought that was cool. And also the fact that as someone... As you know, he was already established. He was Dierks Bentley when he was telling that story back, of the Taylor Swift. And the fact that he took direction from Taylor Swift. I mean, a younger person that hadn't been in the business as long, when she was like, no, you want clear, you don't want red. I think that says a lot about Dierks, in the genre as a whole. I think that if you look into other genres, something like that wouldn't have gone as well. Like if
right,
a rock people or rap music, rock music. If the opener is like, I don't know. I feel like the opener would be like, no, man, this is what I'm doing. And Dierks was like, okay, you're right. And I think that speaks volumes. I also think that has to do with him having daughters.
Yep.
Like once you have daughters, Yeah,
100% agree. Ego can get in the way in those kind of interactions, especially with the dynamics of, you have 2014 Dierks, who was having a peak moment at that time. This was Drunk on a Plane era Dierks Bentley, and this is probably like as big as Dierks got. And I don't mean that as any sort of dig to the rest of his career. I just think that was probably when he was having the most hits. He was headlining, touring. That was certainly a peak. Taylor Swift, though, I mean, she had gone pop and been pop for a couple of years, so she was undoubtedly a bigger star and quite a bit younger than him. So real easy to see another artist not taking that form of direction quite as well as he did. But I imagine, too, there was a little certain respect that she showed maybe in allowing him to pick the song and going with a song that had some great lyrical depth. Maybe it's even a song that he wrote. Like, she showed him some respect on the front end of that. And then when it came to the actual show business part of it, that's where she shines. I mean, clearly.
Yeah. And how cool is that of a story, too? Like, your kids and your wife might want to go see Taylor. And then so you text the manager, and then all of a sudden you're performing. Like, how many people... There's people dying just to get a seat at a Taylor Swift concert, and here comes Dierks Bentley, we're going now because I have to perform. I thought that was so funny.
What else strikes me about that is I remember that tour, and Taylor, the whole tour, she brought a special guest on stage. And in fact, it was a big thing. Every show, you were kind of leaning in to see which special guest. And a lot of them were country. I think Tim McGraw might have gotten an invite. Miranda Lambert likely did. Some other men and women in country music who had some star power behind them. Like, that was like as big of a tour as maybe we had seen or even thought of in quite some time. And then you flash forward a decade, and that's almost a footnote to the tour that she's putting on currently in terms of production and like the hype and the suspense. It's like, holy cow, how high can this star go? Not to get on a Taylor Swift rant, but how high up in the air can she go with this? I'm not sure.
Do they have a song together?
No.
Dierks and Taylor?
No. I don't think Dierks has done more than a handful of duets. I know he did one with, I believe, the El King duets and Miranda Lambert. I think he has a duet with her and maybe one or two others. But no, Taylor She really only did one or a handful of country duets. I can think of the Keith Urban, Tim McGraw one off the top of my head, and then I'd have to look after that. But she didn't. She wasn't a very. It wasn't very often that she was a duet partner.
You know, the other cool thing I learned about this interview is that Taylor Swift's manager name is Tree Payne, just like T-Pain, but Tree Payne.
That's her publicist.
Her publicist. What a great name, Tree Payne.
So, have you looked into the legend of Tree Payne?
I did. Tree Payne is not someone I would mess with. That is a force within country music. She is.
I came across her once. I don't know that I ever met her, but she was a publicist for Warner Music Nashville. So essentially, she was Blake Shelton's label publicist at the time that Blake Shelton's star was really blown up. And this is when Blake and Miranda were married, and we had run a story about Blake and Miranda selling their house, and we shared some pictures of it. And it turns out it was the wrong house, but it wasn't totally on us. It's on us because we misreported the thing, but we had credited another reputable news site that said it was the right house, and it ended up being like Gary LaVox's house or something like that. It was something silly. So, but
was she nice about it? Was Tree nice about it?
No, not nice.
She was not nice.
Not one. Like it was. I wish I would have saved the email. You know, it was definitive to say the least.
Yeah.
But then she actually followed up because she realized we weren't the ones reporting it initially. So then she kind of backtracked a little, and I don't know if she apologized, but we weren't in her doghouse for more than a couple of hours.
Okay.
But then shortly after, she went and became Tree Payne's publicist. And you still see her on red carpets. I mean, just beautiful redheaded woman kind of follows behind Taylor Swift. And, you know, on Twitter, you can still see her clapping back at people who do her client wrong. I mean, she takes no prisoners.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to not take anyone you're Taylor Swift's publicist. That's a big deal nowadays, especially.
All right, last question I have for you, or a thing I want to talk about. This is one of two back-to-back artists we've asked about their teen daughters learning how to drive. Dierks Bentley is teaching his daughter Evie how to drive a car. And next week we actually have a similar story coming from an artist. How are you feeling about teaching your kids how to drive one day? And are you going to be the one to do it, or your wife?
Gotta be my wife, man. No way.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No way. I won't have the patience. It wouldn't even be. I wouldn't be scared to crash. I would be scared of like just being overly mean. You know.
Well, that's really interesting because you drive so much more. Like you guys take long road trips, and you drive the entire distance by yourself.
Yeah, but my wife's got the more patience. Like, no way, I would freak out. I'd be like, why did you do that? And my daughter's 4, so I can't picture. I picture her having to pull over to go potty. So it's hard to I'm really not trying to think about teaching her how to drive, Billy.
Okay, fair enough. Too soon.